podcast number 27. My name is Mallory, otherwise known as Just a Dose of Love, all around the internet. So you can find me on Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, and Ravelry under Just a Dose of Love, though I am most active on Instagram. If you are a new viewer, this is a video podcast about knitting and crafting and kind of whatever else I happen to be creating at the time. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back to join me for the Knittin Kitten podcast. I'm recording in Edmonton, Alberta on May 16th. It is about 12:30, and this is where 12:30 in the afternoon. And this is where I live with my favorite feline, Sasika Sonia, Chris Connor, and a snake named Heidi. It has been exactly 4 months since my last podcast. February, March, April, May. Yes, it's exactly 4 months since my last podcast. As all of you know, COVID-19 has really kind of changed the world and changed the way that we go about our everyday lives and all of that sort of thing. So that's basically the reason that it's been so long. Life has just been a little topsy-turvy for the last little bit, so I apologize for that. But with all of that out of the way, I am going to get right into what is on my needles. I'm pretty excited. I went through probably a 6 to 8 month period where I wasn't knitting a whole lot, and then in the last 4 months, probably with all of the craziness that's going on, I've just been really creating again, and I'm really happy about that. I think I probably needed a little bit of the break that I took, but it seems like I am back in full force making things, and that it's not just knitting. I've been doing some other things which I'll talk about later. Anyways, what is on my needles? Project number 1, I am reworking my Origin of Love shawl, which is actually this shawl that I'm wearing here. I'm actually wearing it sideways like this, and the reason that I'm reworking it is because the shape of the shawl, the top was very straight, very much of a straight line. So I find that the only way that I can wear this is over one shoulder and having it clipped here and then back up the other side. So hopefully you can kind of see what's going on here. And the reason that I wear it like this is because it doesn't really want to wrap around my shoulders and stay around my shoulders very well. So I'm reworking it as a crescent shawl. This Just a Dose of Love, Origin of Love shawl I made probably about 2 years back now, and it was never published because of that reason. I really didn't like the shape, and I didn't like the fact that I couldn't wrap it around myself, so I wanted to rework it. Anyways, that's what I'm doing now, and let me just show you kind of what I've gotten done so far. So I am knitting this up on size 4.5, I believe. Oh, look, it's probably going to tell me right on my needles here. 4 mil, so it's US 6 needles, and it's really big already. This is probably, we're probably looking at 60-inch circulars. And I'm alternating. The shawl uses 2 different colors. This gray is the Knit Picks Chroma Fingering yarn. It is a 70/30 superwash merino nylon blend, and it is the gray color. And the secondary color that I'm using here, so you can see it's a gradient. Let me just show you what the rest of it looks like. And so it goes from the brown all the way through yellow, and it ends at this really bright hot orange, and I'm really excited to get to that point. And this is Mondial yarn. Chris brought it back from Italy when he went a couple of years ago for me, and I looked up the pronunciation of this before my podcast, and now I can Emotion, something like that. Anyways, that is what I think is the yarn line. I'm not sure, this whole label is in Italian, so I'm really guessing here. But it is 100% merino, and this is colorway number 753. And this is a huge ball of yarn. This is 150 grams. So I'm actually going to end up probably making this shawl a little bit longer than the original because I really want to get to that orange color. I think it's gonna look so good with this gray. I can't really, yeah. Oh, it's gonna contrast really nice. Anyways, here it is. So we've got some stockinette stitch here and pearls, and hopefully you can kind of see what's going on here. Anyways, I'm really excited for how this is gonna go. I've got some lace, and now I'm working through the lace. I have a couple more repeats of this, and then I get to start into this. And the other thing was, I was not very smart when I was writing the original pattern. I had scribbled down the lace repeats on a piece of paper somewhere, and I think I found it. Yeah, it's like here's my scribbly notes on a different pattern, and I'm pretty sure that this is actually what I need, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll see. It may not end up being exactly the same stitch when it's done, but I'm sure I will love it equally as much as I do on the original version. So that's a shawl project I've been working on. I haven't worked on a shawl project in a long time. I don't think I made a shawl at all last year. So it's really exciting for me. And it's hanging out in my bumblebee bag. Ah, I love this bag. Melinda had given me the fabric. Melinda from Ravelry had given me the fabric to make us some matching bags, and she got one where the bumblebees are going vertically instead of horizontally, but everything else is the same. I do love this bumblebee bag. Super cute. Probably one of my favorites. Okay, project number 2. I had talked about starting this project in my last podcast, and it's the longbow hood pattern by Rhiannon. Yes, it's a pattern that's on Ravelry, and it had called for 3 skeins of worsted weight yarn. So I bought 3 skeins of worsted weight yarn from Knit Picks, and it is it's their Muse hand painted yarn. So this is what it looks like. It's the rooted colorway, and it's 100% superwash merino. So hopefully you can see that. Yeah, it's like so nice tonal greens and some yellows going on there. And it is knitting up way more, it's taking way more yarn than I expected it to, because this is my 3rd ball of yarn. And while I got a long ways on this, I am nowhere near done. Here's the hood so far. So I finished the neck, and here's the neck piece. And then there needs to be an edge that goes all the way along the top of the hood. So I haven't even finished the length of the hood yet, where it'll eventually join at the top of the head and then the edging. So I think I'm going to need probably 2 more skeins before I can finish this. And it's going to be warm. It is going to be so warm. I was anticipating this to be a summer festival hood for Chris, but it's it's gonna be really warm. He's gonna be able to wear it at night only, if then at all. Oh well. I'm sure I will love to wear it regardless. So if he is a baby and decides that it's too warm for his head, which is understandable, I suppose, I will wear it instead. Yeah, there it is. Oh, it's just so soft and squishy. I wish you could feel this. It's just so squishy. Ah, so exciting. Okay, focus. The last thing that I have on my needles right now is another hat. I have been going through leftover yarn like crazy, actually. I've been making a bunch of hats with leftover yarn. So they're kind of like scrappy hats, but they're remnants of socks, and my socks typically won't end up using more than 65 grams of a skein. So there's quite a bit left each time for these, and I've decided to make them into hats. So the one that I'm working on right now, the brim is this brown colorway. I have no idea what kind of yarn this is. I bought it at Michael's, and it's a fingering weight, and it's brown. And I'm pretty sure it's merino and maybe merino nylon. Definitely merino. It may not be a blend. It's got to be nylon with how shiny that is. This was originally a yarn that I bought to make a hat for one of my technicians, and I just never got around to it. So that was 3-4 years ago now. That was a while ago now. So I did not end up making the hat, and it's just kind of been sitting around waiting for me to use it. So I've been incorporating into some of these scrappy hats because there's a lot there, and it helps me make up the difference for what I need in the hats. So this is based on the Sockhead Slouch pattern by Kelly McClure. It's a free pattern on Ravelry if you are looking to make a very like standard fingering weight hat, slouchy hat. I would absolutely recommend checking that one out. She has so many different sizes. It's really well written. Would recommend. So here's my hat so far. Cute little hat. It's got this brown, and then the rest of the body of the hat here, I'm going to be using what's left of this yarn, which I got from the Sheepy Shire on Etsy. It's the Pumpkin Latte colorway, which I love fall. I love pumpkins. I love pumpkin spice lattes. I just had to buy this when I saw it, and it ended up actually being socks for my mom. So now I'm making something for myself with it because I do really love this yarn. So here it is, pumpkin spice latte. It's on her staple sock base, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. And I have mostly followed, well, I actually haven't really followed the pattern at all. I use the same stitch count that Alison McClure has in her slouchy hat pattern, so it's 52 stitches around for my head. She calls for a much longer brim than this, but I was just looking for something a little bit shorter this time. And I was trying to do like a little bit of a cabling here, which you can't really see with the brown, so I'm not sure how I feel about it. And then I've also got a little bit of a knit two together yarn over to make a little bit of a diagonal around the circumference of the hat as the hat goes up the body. I might tear it back to take out that cable. I still want to keep the little eyelets here that are going to be going up, just for a little bit of just something a little different. So yeah, I will likely be tearing that back, which makes me sad, but I'll be happier with it at the end. And oh, I love these little circular needles. I hate double-pointed needles, so I avoid them whenever I can. And I haven't tried magic loop. I'm just really happy with short little circulars like this. Like for my socks, for example, I use little 9-inch circulars or 10-inch circulars just to knit my socks. I find it way easier than magic loop or double-pointed needles, just because it can keep going. Just keeps going. You don't have to pull anything through or switch the needles. Anyways. So here's my little needles. I had to order them specially for these hats. They're 2.5 millimeters or US 1.5, which the US sizes are a little funky. But anyways, and it's a 16-inch circular, which is about 40 centimeters. And that's what I've been using for all of the fingering weight hats that I've been making. And that about wraps up what's on my needles. Although I do want to show you this. My lovely boss gave me a bag, a knitting bag, as kind of a thank you for a bunch of masks that I made for my colleagues at work. And I've got a couple here that I'll show you in a bit, and I'll elaborate on that then. But I'm just trying to close this bag here before I show you. It is one of the Hohi & Co bags. There we go. So Hohi Livatelli, I think. I didn't write down her last name, but she's got a bit of a, why am I drawing a blank on this? Partnership? Collaboration going with other makers, and this is one of the things that is coming out of that. So it's just gorgeous bag, and it's so cute. She was very right when she told me I have so many colorful bags that this is something that I could bring to, like, in place of a purse for maybe some events where I'm a little more dressed up, and I don't want something that is bright and colorful and like, I love this, but I wouldn't bring it to a formal event. But now I can bring my knitting and not feel like, oh, I've got this really loud bag with me here. So that's really exciting. Yep. There's my bag. Absolutely love it. So thankful. I've been using it to tote around my projects, my hat projects lately. So that wraps it up for what's on my needles. I'm gonna take a quick drinking break. What am I drinking? I'm drinking this kombucha. The brand is Bucha. It's a local kombucha maker. I don't know what they're technically called. Brewers? They're definitely not brewers. Anyways, and it's lavender flavor. So good. I typically don't like kombucha, like the stuff that I can find at the grocery store. I've tried a couple times. Not a fan. Not a fan. But I do really, really like the kombucha that they make. I buy a 4-pack every week when I go to the farmer's market, and then I usually will drink one a day and then just go pick up more next week. They are apparently doing free deliveries, but I also really like going to the farmer's market, so I haven't taken them up on that yet. Okay. What's off my needles? There's a whole bunch of things that are off my needles. I thought about splitting up, like, what's I've completed and showing some of them for this podcast and showing some of them for next podcast, but I decided to just, we'll do them all today. So my first off my needles hat, this was one that I was working on during my last podcast. So this is a hat that I made for Chris. It is also the Sockhead Slouch hat pattern, but it's not quite as long because he doesn't like slouchy hats. So it does call for a 4-inch brim, which I did on this hat. And I may as well just, here you can see the whole thing. So this was also one of the Mondial Emozione balls of yarn that Chris got me in Italy. I don't know what color this was because I tossed the label and my previous notes only said 7, so there's 2 digits missing. Not quite sure what color that was supposed to be. But also a beautiful gradient. Beautiful, beautiful. It went from this dark green to the lighter green, and then I continued the hat onto, or I continued using the yarn for another hat. May as well just show you what the whole gradient looked like. So here's the second hat. So it went from this dark green, I transitioned to this like greeny brown kind of, and then ended up with a light green way over here. And this wasn't quite the full 150 grams. I probably have maybe 5 grams left. So made quite a lot of hat, clearly, and made 2 of them. Yes. This is Chris's hat. Yeah. Let's see if I can put it on. without getting it caught on some stuff. Here it is. He likes it. Of course, I finished it just as the weather started getting warmer. So he hasn't really worn it yet. But there it is. And it's a little warmer on the ears too because the brim is so thick when it's folded over like that. But there it is. I really like it. I liked it so much that I made myself this one. This one probably followed the whole pattern as far as length is concerned. I again did the full 4-inch brim and quite a lot of body of the hat. It's very long, but I was also trying to use up the remainder of that skein of yarn. And here it is. I like slouchy hats, so I had no problem with using up the rest of this yarn. And here it is. Really, really love it. It is very warm. I have worn it often. I didn't block any of these hats actually. So, none of these hats that I'm going to show you have been blocked yet. But that's just fine because I wear them so often anyways that it doesn't really matter. They form their shape back to my head quickly. And I've been going on a lot of walks. I was doing quite a bit of foraging. I still am actually, but when there was still snow on the ground, I was foraging for poplar buds because you want to get those before the leaves actually emerge from the buds. I suppose that's how you would say that. But it was very cold still at that point. It's probably -15 on average when I was going out. So I was wearing that hat and it was beautifully warm. Kept my little ears nice and toasty because when my ears get cold, they get really painful. So this completely mediated that issue. As hats number 1 and 2, also on the 2.5 mil or US 1.5 size circular needles, 16-inch/40 centimeters. So all of these have been made on those needles specifically. My third one. This is where the scrappy hats really started, or actually that's where they started, period. Because obviously those other 2 hats were not scrappy hats. They used up an entire ball of yarn. I'm rambling. Sorry. This hat, based again on the sockhead slouch pattern, not exactly following it, but this is a hat that I intend for my sister, but I may just keep for myself. So here it is. Here it is. It starts with this lovely cream. Lovely cream color. I have no idea what yarn this is. I have no idea what this yarn is. Not a clue. I think it was originally from a shawl. But anyways, it was in my scrap bin, and this is exactly how much I had left, so that was how long the brim is. Now, the beginning of the body, this is what was left over of the socks that I made my sister. So this is Manos del Uruguay yarn. I really should know how to say that, but I don't. Anyway, that is the yarn. It's the Allegra base, and it's Fondo di Mar colorway, which is a 75-25 superwash merino polyamide blend. So I made my sister's socks out of that, and that's why I was thinking it'd be really nice for her to have a matching hat. And then I ran out of yarn. So I was like, okay, well, gotta use something else. Because this is not long enough yet. She's got a lot of hair like me, so I assume that she also likes to put her hair in a ponytail and not have her hat like up here above her ears where it doesn't matter anymore. So she also is getting a slouchy hat if she gets this hat. This is again the mystery brown color from Michaels, and then this teal colorway. This is a Cascade Yarns on their Heritage base. It's color number 5720, which is a 75-25 superwash merino and nylon blend. And I love these stripes. Oh, I think I'm hooked on stripes. Look at that. Ah, I mean, I know you can see it, but look, it's like a bullseye. Ah. I really love this hat, which is why I might possibly keep it. Here we go. I do wish that this wouldn't show when you folded it. I suppose you could fold it a little more, but then you'd lose some of the brim. Anyways, here it is in all of its glory. And she really likes blue, so I think she's gonna love it. And I'll probably give it to her, but not until Christmas. But here it is. Lovely, lovely hat. There. So that's hat number 3. Yeah. And there's one more! Oh my goodness, I've just been like knitting hats, and most of this I probably finished 2 weeks ago, and the next one I finished this week, and then I started on the orange hat. I don't know what happened, but it's just like, gotta make all the hats. Okay, and this last one is a scrappy hat for my mom. So it's using the same cascade yarn here, which is the color 5720 again. And then it's got this yarn, which is also cascade on the heritage base again. It's color 5715, which also has the name avocado, and it's the same base, so it's also a 7525 superwash merino and nylon blend. And my mom's gonna like this one because it'll keep her ears warm as well. And this is a very slouchy hat. Ooh, let's my little stripe line, so that's gonna go to the back. Super slouch. I was trying to use up the rest of the avocado colorway. I still didn't quite do it, but it was getting really long. I was like, maybe I should probably wrap it up about now. I probably would have ended up getting 3 more stripes of green, so it would have ended up being at least that much longer, that's a long hat. So here it is. Lots of hat here. And I still do have a chunk left of this teal color, so that'll likely end up getting incorporated into another hat. We'll see. Maybe I'll just save it for the scrappy blanket that I haven't worked on for a very long time. We'll see. And both of these are going to be Christmas presents, so I'm going to have to keep these for a while, but that's okay. I don't mind. I like hats. They can just hang out in my hat bin. And I'm actually really, really pleased with how well these stripes ended up going. I don't do stripes often this small where there's so much switching. So these are only 3 rows big, 3 rows high for each color. And you can kind of see the insides. It looks pretty good, actually. Normally when I'm doing stripes for shawls, that's the only time I've done stripes before, I will cut the yarn each time and then weave in the ends, just because I really don't like carrying yarn. I have a hard time making sure that there's enough slack there that it'll still stretch the same as the rest of the knitwear. So I'll just snip it and weave in the ends, but this would have been so difficult to weave that many in, and it would have bulked up that seam a lot, so I wasn't gonna do that. But I'm pretty pleased with how it ended up turning, and there's enough slack there that you're not gonna notice any difference with the amount of stretch. Oh, my hair's a mess from all these hats. Okay. That wraps it up for knitting finished objects. Now I'm going to show you the masks quickly here. I only have 2, the one that I made for myself and the one that I made for Chris. So this is my mask. What's happened is at work we are looking at rolling out something where there's filter fabric a really high grade filter fabric. It's a MERV 13. So as far as air quality goes, if you were using that filter in your furnace, it's really good for your air quality. It catches a whole bunch more like allergens and I want to say bacteria, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It must. It catches a lot of really small particles. And these masks have a little pouch inside for said fabric. So here it is. That's the filter fabric. So I made one mask for all of my work colleagues. All of the technicians got this camo fabric, and the ladies in the office, I used some of my fabric stash, and this one is mine. So here it is. And yeah, it's got ties instead of elastic because I didn't want it hurting my ears. And I've heard a lot of people saying that the ones with the elastics, it does get pretty hard on your ears after any extended use. And company policies now just require a lot of mask wearing more or less all the time. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to hurt technician ears or office lady ears, although we have to wear it slightly less because we are also talking on the phone a lot. And we're pretty secluded where our desks are. They're far away from everything, or far away from each other. Anyways, I'm going into a lot of detail here that you don't really need. Made lots of masks. I made 16 masks, so 9 of those were for technicians and 7 were for office staff. This is mine. This is Chris's. And they also have little wires in for the nose piece so you can, like have it conform to your face a little better. Because I know one of these problems that people are having is when you wear glasses. And what I have found is it needs to be tighter on the top and it needs to be quite high up for less fogging of the glasses. Not sure why that is the case, but it needs to be tighter up here and high up, basically, so it's like right here. And that's where I've found the least amount of fogging. So there they are in all of their colorful glory. I really like them. I'm actually making myself more because, I mean, if masks are going to be part of everyday life, I might as well make them, accessorize with them. Make the best of the situation that we're in, right? Yeah. There we go. Project number 6. I decided to make myself reusable shopping bags because I was tired of the ones that I got for free somewhere. They're branded bags from a store I probably never go to. I don't really like the fabric. So I made myself some. There's a local fabric store that was doing phone orders, so I phoned in to see if they had any muslin so I could, get that toady baggy look and then just used some of my fabric stash to make them all different. So here's one. This is a box bag. There we go. That's number 1. You got all these little foxes, cute little foxes with glasses. That's the first one. And the second one, they're all the same size and shape, so I'm just going to show you the extra fabric here. I don't even know what to call this fabric, but I love it. I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it at Fabricland, and I bought it. And now it's the bottom of the bag. There's number 2. And number 3, this was actually the first one I made. It's just got these cute little green polka dots. And I love using these at the farmer's market. I love it. I am trying to reduce my waste, so as few plastic bags as possible, reusable whenever I can, that sort of thing. I'm just trying to do my part. And my last one, I made myself a headpiece for the BNI Gala. So it's a gala. I like to dress up. I will usually find myself a old grad dress from Value Village for $20 to $60. this year's it was black and white, and I got it for $24 minus 20% because I had brought some donations there as well. So I got one of the discount cards. So I made a headpiece to match. This is all dollar store stuff. This was some of the Halloween leaves and like grapes. Those were also from Halloween stuff. Fake flowers, white flowers. This was a magnetic shower curtain holder. So I was like, ooh, that would be perfect as a centerpiece. And then this fake flower. And this is a necklace, both of them actually, which they look funny just dangling here, but they have bobby pins attached. Ugh, they're super tangled. I actually need more mannequin heads so I can put some of my head pieces on mannequin heads. They're not just laying around. But I had put bobby pins on the end of each piece so it actually will go in my hair. So you've got the little, you know, my thought was, you know when you read those historical books and they talk about weaving pearls into their hair? Well, it's an easier way to do it. And this was like $4. So that's what I did. And I really liked it. Also, it added a little bit more stability for me keeping my hair because all I was using was one of those, I don't know what it's called. Hair things. These, but bigger. Yeah, one of these. And then I just used all of the bobby pins as like a stabilization. So you're not gonna really be able to see this. I'm not gonna put these in my hair because it's gonna get all tangled and very hard to put back. But let's see if I can. Yeah. So then my hair was up, and there it was. I really loved it. This was a lot of fun to make. It was even more fun to wear. I actually won Chapter Member of the Year this year, so I got to go up with my funky headpiece and my grad dress and get my award, which is actually framed at work on my desk. I'd actually been eyeing up that award for the last 4 years. I've gone to the gala, and I'm so excited I finally got it. I'm so excited. Yeah, I had actually given up on that a couple of years ago. I was just like, it's not gonna happen. There's too many amazing people in my chapter. And then this year I actually got it, so that was very exciting for me. Also really scary because you know those, I'm sure everyone has the fear that when you're walking up in front of a bunch of people, you're gonna fall. Definitely I was afraid of that. It didn't happen, thank goodness. There was no embarrassing falling on my face or tripping or anything like that. It was spectacular. Okay, and since everything has been closed, I have no stash enhancement. And as far as upcoming items of note, the only thing really of note is going to be the reworking of my Origin of Love shawl, which hopefully I'll finish in the next month or so. I know I'm really slow when it comes to shawls. So, and I mean, also it's a very large project, right? But regardless, that is about it for upcoming items of note. Stash enhancement, I'm really hoping that the local yarn stores are going to be opening up soon. We have actually started reopening here, so I'm in Alberta, and there was reopening of some businesses and retail starting Thursday. There's still a lot of restrictions. I'm not 100% sure what the restrictions are and who opened up, so I'm not going to elaborate on that, but we've started reopening the economy as a bit of a trial run. So we're in phase 1. There's 3 phases in total before things are more or less back to normal, still with social distancing implemented. But hopefully the yarn stores will be opening up soon. I really hope so. I didn't see anything on their websites. I know they've been open for pickup, but I really don't know usually what I want until I get there. It's like shopping therapy, but not so much. Or maybe that's exactly what it is, shopping crafting therapy. Yes. And that actually about wraps it up. So this was a bit of a longer one. Thanks so much for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like that little, hit the little like button down below. I think it's right here. I'm pretty sure my camera is backwards from what I see versus what you see. So if that is the case, right here, if not right here, maybe, not sure. Anyways, you could like if you would like to be notified when future videos come out. Please subscribe and hit the little notification button on the bottom. And I will see you guys next time. I hope you have a spectacular long weekend if you have a long weekend. If you don't, have a wonderful weekend anyways. Stay safe and stay healthy, and I will see you again soon.